This week at Outsider Reviews, we've got the 2024 Chevrolet Traverse. And if you're shopping around for a midsize or full-size SUV, you have got to stay tuned, and I'll tell you why. And welcome back to another Outsider Review. My name is Pat, and I'm a military guy now turned YouTuber doing car reviews. So if you like the sound that you want to support our channel, please press like and subscribe. Now, enough about me and the channel. Let's talk about the 2024 Chevrolet Traverse. This is why you're here. Completely redesigned, made it look a lot more like a truck this year. Enough with that rounded off SUV crap. This is where it's at. It looks a lot more truck-like, and that is appealing to me. Let me know if it's appealing to you. Daytime running lights up here look actually aggressive, almost look like the truck is frowning at you, mean looking, and you got your headlights over here. We got the Z71 badging because this is the more off-road worthy of the Traverse, or Z71 for here in Canada. Gives you a black grill, we got the black bow tie, and definitely gives you the red hot tow hooks because you cannot go off-roading at all or consider it unless your tow hooks are red. Am I right, people? Comment below. Underneath, we also have skid plates. It's just one of the added on features. It's gonna go throughout. I'm gonna keep mentioning what's different with the Z71. Speaking of trims, we got the LS, LT, Z71, and then you have the RS, RS, which is a more sporty looking one. This is actually my preferred trim if you ask me. Now underneath the hood, they're all gonna have the same thing. 2.5 liter inline 4 turbocharged engine through an 8-speed transmission. It's gonna give you about 328 horsepower and 326 pounds-feet of torque. Gives you a 0 to 60 time in about 7.5 seconds. Also, you can tow 5,000 pounds, which is really good. It's gonna match what the V6 used to put out last year, because last year you used to have the available V6 option with a tow max package. None of that. This year is only a 2.5 liter inline 4, and they can still tow 5,000 pounds, which is pretty great. The Z71 or Z71 actually has a twin clutch all-wheel drive system that can actually transfer up to 100% power to one wheel. So it's not just a gimmicky off-roader where you're just gonna slap some badges on it, make the tires look more rugged, and call it a day. They actually put in, because you cannot get that twin clutch in the RS, nor can you get in the LT and the LS. Now, one thing that I am going to have a bit of a gripe about is that the clearance. If you're looking at clearance, you're looking at 7.7 inches. That doesn't quite fall into my personal preference of you got to be at least 8 inches to start going and calling it an off-roader. This is an off-roader, and we did take it some light off-roading, and that's what it's meant to. It's not meant for you to go to the, the big playland and play with the big boys, the Broncos and such, all right? That being said, we do have a more rugged tire. So this has got 18-inch wheel, and it's on a Goodyear Wrangler Territory tires. So definitely a more rugged tires. Love the pattern on here. It kind of makes it look more aggressive, more off-road capable, and the thread actually reflects that as well. It's just more of aggressive thread. Moving on, now we do have black mirror cap here, and it's not a power folding mirror, which just kind of surprised me at that aspect. I would have expected it. Traverse written out, that's no change, and we obviously have keyless entry at a touch of a button and both doors, which is definitely something I like because not every manufacturer do it. A lot of them are cheaping out and just going with the front door. I like to open the door for my son every now and then. I want to have it there. Fuel economy, you're looking at 25 miles per gallon combined, or 11.3 liters per 100 kilometers combined. Out here, I'm running about 10 liters per 100 kilometers. I've had it for approximately 400 kilometers so far this week, and that's my average. I've done most of that was on the highway, so keep that in mind. So 11.3, I find that pretty attainable. Here we are on the back end. Now, I absolutely love the LED design here. That goes very well with the boxy squared off look. Looks like a truck-like SUV. Like I said, that's a good thing for me in my books. And this tail design kind of looks like the Blazer EV tail design. Looks pretty sharp. We have our badging, Z71, Z71. We got the Traverse all-wheel drive. We got our tow hitch cover right here. Like I said, 5,000 pounds of towing. It's pretty good. tailgate is motorized, and there's actually a couple ways to doing it. Now, in the past, this channel, we haven't been too big on showing the foot swipe motion of opening the tailgate, and that's because that crap worked about 50% of the time. We're a fan of it. I didn't like that I'm swiping my foot and it may or may not work, and I'm doing it. So General Motors, well, Chevrolet in this case, came up with an approach. So you coming in, you got your hands full of groceries, you walk behind, you stay there for maybe a second or two, and the tailgate's gonna open, and it's been working a lot more better than it is with the foot swipe motion. Now, that being said, if you wanna just power and push the button, that will open it as well. Inside, we actually have 23 cubic feet over here of space and some extra storage down here. We have some nice tie downs, looks pretty sharp. Now, if we were to put this third row down, you're looking at 56 cubic feet of space. Now, with all the seats down back here, you're looking at 98 cubic feet of space, total cargo space. One of the best in the segment. Now, Chevrolet website I was on actually says the best in this segment, but I just find that a little bit kind of odd since we reviewed a vehicle not too long ago and they actually had more cargo space and it was in the same segment. You can go check out our Honda Pilot review. It's got 113 cubic feet of space. And also, but if we're comparing it to the Chevy Tahoe, the only difference, the wheelbase is the same, and the Traverse is actually slightly longer than the Chevy Tahoe, but the cargo space is a bit less because the Tahoe has got about 8 inches more of height. People will argue, however, you don't usually load up your car all the way. You can argue that all you want in the comments section. I'm just here to give you all the specs. Now let's go inside and see how I fit in this vehicle. All right, now this is somebody's favorite part of the segment. Brian, who's usually one of us, but he's not here today. He's sick. Hope you're getting better, right, Brian? It's how Pat's big frame can get in the third row. Usually not a very graceful thing to see, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. So lever up here, boom, it moves all the way forward. 2 points of contacts at all time for safety. Make your entry, and you know what? That's not too bad. I'm sitting, I'm gonna pull the seat all the way back. Yeah, there you go, I fit, that wasn't too bad. Joke's on you guys, you're not gonna laugh at me that much today. That being said, I've got about 33 inches of leg room. When the seat, you can actually move the seat forward if I had somebody who was nice enough to do that in front of me. But all intents and purposes, I sit in many third rows, and this one actually fits okay. I have a USB-C port here, cup holder, and a little cubby. This seat does not recline. It does fit 3 back here. I wouldn't say it fits 3 of me back here, but 3 kids, yeah, for sure. As far as comfort level, I mean, it is on the rigid side, on the firm side of seating, but I am actually not that bad. Headroom, more than enough. I'm only 5'9", and it actually has some ventilation back here, which will help you on a nice hot day. Yeah, you know what? Very comfortable. I got a decent sized window over here. They did pretty good. Now, as you move forward, you get more comfortable. So you're looking at 38 inches of leg room, more than enough. Headroom, headroom for days. And I also have my own HVAC control. I got vents over here. So obviously, this is tri-zone, so you get to control the HVAC for the people behind you as well. It's pretty good. 2 USB-C. We got a regular outlet here, and cup holders are here now. In the LS, you can get bench seats, but after you move LS, you're gonna have captain's chairs, which I like. I have no problem. I prefer captain's chair. I find it opens it all up for cargo and stuff and hockey sticks. Definitely good. I got a nice kangaroo pouch over here. Now, if I'm looking at the doors, it's a nice soft fabric. I got some plastic over here, but overall, some nice soft fabric, some red stitching, and kind of look like a little bit of a carbon fiber fabric. I don't know, I'm not a material specialist. I do have the upgraded Bose sound system in this vehicle, and these seats do recline, which is actually pretty good. So I can actually recline quite a bit. You can get yourself pretty comfortable back here, but where I like to be is the driver's seat. Let's go check that out. This is nice. Now you get to see me in my natural habitat, because drivers drive. The driver's seat. Isn't it nice to be here? Everything looks nice. Everything is pretty soft to the touch. The kind of like red carbon fiber-ish fabric is way better than piano black. Anything would be. But it looks nice. I like the red. I wish that you could choose a different color. Alas, this is what you get. But the LS actually has, the basic trim has more of a gray one. That being said, let's talk about some tech. We got lots of tech here. Got an 11-inch driver information cluster right here. It's customizable. You can have your Google Maps. So Google built in. And you also have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Right now, this is my Waze map. So you can have driver assistance or a clean screen just like that. Speaking of this, I absolutely love this. I want to hug it. Super Cruise. Why do I love it so much? Well, first off, we're like 300 kilometers away from where we get our press fleet. So that's a lot of highway driving back and forth every week. And whenever we get a vehicle that's Super Cruise, it just makes it that much easier. Now, for those who don't know, Super Cruise is advanced driver assist, and it's hands-free. So essentially, you press this little button here, activate Super Cruise. It's like cruise control, but it's hands-free. So you take your hands off, this will light up in green, and it'll change lanes past the slower cars for you, go back, and it's got obviously a right lane tendency, so it goes back to the right lane whenever there's no cars to be passed. And it doesn't navigate for you, it's just going to keep you on that highway and past vehicle. I wish it was integrated with the navigation system, but it's not. That's a very good system. It's one of the best. I've tried Super Cruise and Blue Cruise. One of the differences, I think Super Cruise is a little bit smoother, and you don't have to activate lane changes with your turn signal, which you do in the Blue Cruise one. And moving on to the steering wheel. So this is you got sensors here for your eyes, because you still have to pay attention to the road. You can't just take a nap, right? And it scans your eyes to make sure you're not just texting on your phone or whatever. So you always have to stay alert, but it's hands-free. So hard buttons over here, so you got your music and your heated steering wheel, your cruise control options here. Z71 badge here, looks pretty nice. Behind there, you got your windshield wiper stock and your turn stock. So turning for shifting, you basically would have to pull towards you, go down for drive, pull towards you, neutral, and pull towards you up for reverse, and you press for park. Over here, I got my drive modes and my parking brake, my all-wheel drive select. So it's going to be dual drive unless you activate that in the all-wheel drive. As far as drive modes, if I'm going to go through my drive modes here. So here, 17-inch horizontal screen, pretty good. So we got, tow haul, we got terrain, off-road, sports, normal. So those are your drive modes, and they come up on the screen right here. But I like that I have a hard button to change my drive modes, because if you watch my channel, you've seen that there's been a couple of reviews where I have to change my drive modes by clicking on the screen. That takes your eyes away from the road way too much, because you got to click and then click again for selecting drive mode. I don't find that quite safe. I find this a hard button. Now, yes, I'd like to have the button a little bit closer to the steering wheel. Some manufacturers do that. I find that a little bit better, but this is still not too shabby. Speaking of the 17-inch display, I do have a floating volume knob here. Pretty good. Headlight control, I didn't mention over there because they're not over there, not anymore. So your headlight controls are over here through the screen. So this is where you select them and stuff. I have them on because we were filming the vehicle and everything looks cooler. So, and I got a lane control assist here and dome light. So your lighting is here. Now, if you do get some kind of screen malfunction or screen issue, what I found with a previous vehicle that kind of shared this platform is you can still select these buttons. They seem to be on another circuit. So that is good to know. 17-inch screen, like I said, Google built-in navigation, but also wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The reaction time of this screen is pretty good. Let me just go into the navigation. There you go. And it flows really well. There's no lag at all. Google Maps is really good, but it will require you a subscription to have the built-in Google Maps after your trial period, after the first 3 years, I believe. So this is where Android Auto comes in very handy. and you could just use Android Auto, and you have your music and all that stuff, and your apps are all there. I wish it would use the screen just as much as it does when it built in the when it's the built-in navigation system, but this is still pretty good. I don't have a heads-up display on this vehicle, so one of the differences, we just reviewed a GMC Acadia, which is a relatively similar vehicle, and this has the horizontal screen as opposed to the GMC Acadia has the 15-inch vertical screen. I will say I kind of like that screen design more. Go check out that review. It's on our channel, and it's got nice hard toggles in the back and at the bottom for HVAC. So here you got your HVAC controls right here, but you also have knobs and buttons. A lot of people are going to be fans of that. So you know, your fan speed and your sync and all that stuff, your temperature control. You got a push button start. So we do have a combination of going through the screen and hard buttons and knobs. Definitely a good thing. Below here we got a wireless charger, and I have a 12-volt outlet, USB-A, USB-C. I do like the angled wireless charger. The GMC Acadia has a flat one, and I find like it sits better when you drop it in like that. It's you know, it works pretty good. Okay, I got my key here, but I have cup holders over here, and over here is where your piano black resides. So, always not a big fan of piano black. It just gets to look so dusty real quick. We're in a dirt road right now, so it gets. But I do like the nice storage bin here and below here. Now the reason why we can have that is because of the electronic column shifter. So that definitely maximizes a lot of space. Center console is a decent size as well. It's a pretty large center console, and you also have a glove box. As far as seating comfort, if I was to close all that, drop the keys here, a seating comfort, I'm a fairly large person, and I like that the seats aren't too narrow. I do comment sometimes when they are, so you know, all the big boys out there can give you a shout out, but the GM's or Chevrolet seats are always a little bit more on the firm side. This is true. However, I find that with this nice soft quality, so we have a perforated seats, we got some dual stitching over here, two kinds of material being used. It's fairly plush, and I definitely like it. I do have heated seats, but I do not have ventilated seats, which I did have in the GMC Acadia. So coming up top here, obviously note that we have the, well, the GoPro doesn't come with this car. That's just for filming. But we have a nice panoramic sunroof, sunglass holder. Your hazard lights are actually up here, so that's a good thing to know. And your mirror, should you load this to full capacity at a flick of a switch, it becomes a rear view camera. And it's actually very good quality. If you look at all the screens, if I put this in reverse, so you'll have this perfect quality, and General Motors does this very well. Screen quality, crisp camera, and so many angles, including a hitch view, which is pretty good. So you can do a front camera, so when you're going off-roading and you know you're not going to be able to see over the hood that well because it is a nice square, but square hoods also means that it's hard to see over. That's what your camera's for. That's where it comes in handy. So I think that pretty much covers it for the inside. And now let's see how it drives. All right, let's drive this thing. Okay, so, I mean, oh yeah, you definitely feel the power after that initial launch. It's got plenty of power, 328 horsepower, 326 pounds-feet of torque, ample. Now I was in sports mode. I'm just gonna put it back into normal mode, the way we usually drive. So like I said, I don't like how low it is that I have to change my driving position in order to change drive modes. That kind of annoys me, but it's better than going through the screen like other manufacturers are doing. One thing I do like is how quiet it is in the cabin. The cabin is extremely quiet. Not only is it very spacious, it feels spacious even around here. So having a column shifter definitely helps. It frees up the space, lots of storage and all that stuff. but very quiet. This is the vehicle you want for those long distance drives with the family. What's also quiet is the 2.5 liter inline 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, and that's a good thing, but it's also, I'm not hearing that rumble, right? You're missing a little bit of that V6 rumble when you do hammer it down to the floor, right? Big SUV, looks big, looks large and in charge, and then you're hearing this little engine when it's coming to accelerate. So a bit underwhelming on the sound of it. And that's it. That has nothing to do with performance. Handling wise, it handles really good. Impresses me quite a lot. It's, you know, it's got that 1.2 inch lift, so the Z71 has a 1.2 inch lift compared to its other trims. You would expect maybe some body roll, but it corners really well. I'm gonna hit down the line here a little sharper of a corner, but here it is the rough portion of the roads. Actually, all the roads here are rough in the mountains of Quebec, but it absorbs it so well. It's such a comfortable, but you don't get that bouncing effect, right? It absorbs impact and absorbs imperfections into the roads so well. I am utterly impressed by that aspect of the drive. This drive is basically one of the most comfortable I've had down this road, and this is where I live, so I go down this road all the time. Let's take this sharp turn, maybe a little bit more speed. There's a little bit of a dip here. Okay, so we're just getting the tires a little bit. Yeah, that's when you know you're doing it right, kind of. But you're not gonna buy this. You're not shopping for this kind of SUV because you want to corner really fast. I'm doing that just for fun, but also to prove a point. I do not have much body roll for this size of a vehicle. It's impressive. I'm very, very impressed, and it does rival that of large SUVs. Like I said, this is the same platform as the Tahoe. They have the same wheelbase. The only thing that's different is the height. You guys hear that? Let me put it in neutral. I'm just gonna rev it a little bit, see if you guys can capture what I mean by the sound of it. I mean, kind of gives you a, you know, Honda Civic kind of vibe. There we go. A little bit more spin in the tire. Like I said, there's no lack of power. You would think that maybe, you know, going from V6 to the 4-cylinder, you're gonna feel some, but it's got more horsepower than the V6. It's got more pounds of feet of torque than the V6 had, and the fuel economy, well, it's comparable, right? You could, I mean, although it says 25 miles per gallon or 11.3 liters per 100 kilometers, you can legitimately get, like, I'm at 10.4 liters per 100 kilometers, and I'll write miles per gallon underneath here, but I'm not driving conservative, as you can tell. Like, I'm firing it up, I'm accelerating, I'm testing it. That's what this tester is for, right? Visibility is also a very good thing, not only because, you know, you can see obviously the hood. It's, you know, it's a bit of a square hood, but that's what I like. I like the looks of it. I'm not going to be able to see over it. Shouldn't I expect to? But the camera system just, you'll have no problem parking this anywhere you go, do your groceries, a shopping mall, whatever. It's so easy to park. And lastly, like I said, long tripper, super cruise. Definitely you want to add that to your options. I would definitely recommend it because it makes those long road trip vacations seem effortless. I'm not saying you're fully rested when you get to your location because, well, I mean, traveling takes a toll on you no matter what. But Super Cruise, definitely a big difference. And I notice it because I travel 300 plus kilometers, so it's like 600 something kilometers in a day. And whenever I have a Super Cruise featured vehicle coming in and coming back, I am a totally different person at the end of that day. I'm still fully rested, I still have energy, as opposed to the other way around. I'm pretty tired and grumpy and don't want to talk to anybody. But so yeah, all in all, I'm definitely placing this in the top of my list for mid-size SUVs to consider. But before we go there, before we give it too much of a praise, let's see how if the price reflects the size. So everything is almost full-size SUV capability. Well, let's see what the price is at. Now, we can't finish this review without talking a little bit about price. It happens. So in Canada, it's going to start at around $55,000 and go all the way to $65,000. You can actually add it up and go a little bit more than that. In the US, yours starts actually around $34,000 and goes up to $55,000. Difference being, like I've mentioned earlier, you guys in the United States can have two-wheel drive, as opposed to Canada, it's only all-wheel drive, so the price starts higher. Keeping that in mind, prices are fairly competitive to whatever else is out there. I think Chevrolet did a pretty good job at keeping the price quite competitive, and this one is similarly spec'd out to the GMC Acadia I had last week, and it's about $5,000 cheaper. Now, it doesn't have a few things that the Acadia had, you know, the heads-up display and the screen interior and all that stuff, but if you're looking at the features and the guts of it, it's pretty much on par. Now that's going to bring me to my final thoughts. Pros and cons. Where do we sit in relations to this vehicle? It's going to be my personal opinion. You guys can write your personal opinion in the comments below. Always be respectful. I love this truck. I'm just going to go out and flat out say it. Yeah, I called it a truck. It's an SUV. Big deal. But it's got a truck look, a truck feel. And like I said, in the drivability, being the Z71 or Z71, bigger tires, about an inch more of clearance, ground clearance than all the other Traverse, even though it's not at 8 inches of ground clearance just yet. It absorbs all the irregularities in the roads, all the imperfections. We're talking about potholes, we're talking about speed bumps, we're talking about just uneven roads. It handles it like a champ. And where I live, well, that is like a haven for terrible roads. And this makes it much more of a comfortable ride. So that is probably the biggest pro. Another pro is cargo space. It's about as big, or if you look at the platform wise, as a Chevy Tahoe. Yeah, it doesn't share that price. Yes, it's missing 8 inches off the top, but how often do you load up your vehicle all the way up to the brim? Not very often, at least not in my case. And my family likes to pack a lot of stuff on vacation. So that's the other pro of this, is how much space you have. Fuel economy is actually pretty good. I find it's pretty good for this size vehicle to be close to, well, my regular use is at 10 liters per 100 kilometers. Hey, I can't complain about that. Where I'm going to have complaints is going to be particular to this trim is the ground clearance, which I've already mentioned. It's like 7.7 inches. We're missing a bit. I'd like to be a little bit, maybe 1 inch more would be great. Another one is the 2.5 liter engine has great power, great torque. It just doesn't sound that good. Because, I mean, I will have a really big looking SUV, it looks mean, and then when you're revving it, it's kind of like, it's a little bit underwhelming. But for that to be my only gripes about this vehicle, I mean, it tells you that this is overall, it's got to be in the conversation, in your considerations when you're shopping around. Now, I want to hear from you guys what you guys think about this vehicle overall. I want to hear your feedback. I'd like for you to like and subscribe. Also, if you like the shirts I'm wearing, this is from Mad Hatter Industry. It's another company that is veteran owned. So another military friend of mine, Corey, really good, does a lot for the community. So go check him out as well. Until then, we'll see you later.